We just moved to LA like 6 months ago. Moved from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're currently in the fashion district, really gritty area, lots of character, but I feel like I thrive in chaos sometimes, so. Oh, I stepped on poop. Yo, Mike, could you grab me a napkin? It's the worst. Dude, you almost stepped on it too. It was so small. Yo, what's up, man? Doing good. The initial reason why we moved out here was for opportunity and also like to grow and expand the brand. So coming here and like kind of meeting those expectations and like being able to just build from kind of where we started and then just scaling that way. And then I met Jonathan, which was another great addition to the team. For us, is to meet new people, start new conversation, and seeing how we could navigate, you know, beyond just like a small city like Milwaukee. Back in Milwaukee, you know, like throughout the winter, it's really hard to force yourself to go in the studio, freezing cold and still trying to create. But here, everything seemed to be flowing. I think the energy outside, just like as soon as I walk out of my studio, like there's so much people, there's so much, you know, just movement. And to me, like I find inspiration in that, just the constant like doing. Most of my upbringing, I moved a lot. So I was born in Sudan. Family migrated to Kenya when I was, 5 because of like the war that was going on, the civil war. Migrated to Kenya, lived in a refugee camp for most of my upbringing. And then while living in Kenya, we kind of moved a lot. And then finally, with the help of like the United Nations, we moved out to the States in 2010. Directly to Milwaukee, and it's a place where I feel like I found a community, I found a sense of identity, and a lot of like what I'm doing today is kind of like blossomed from Milwaukee. What are the next steps for me as a street brand owner? And there was no one there to kind of, like I guess a blueprint. There was no blueprint from Milwaukee, so I kind of want to be like that for a lot of like the creative individuals in Milwaukee, so being able to bridge that gap between a place where there's no industry to maybe having influence enough that I could somewhat bring some of the industry either from LA or New York or some of the bigger cities back to Milwaukee. So I started screen printing probably like my sophomore year in high school, so it's like 2014. So it's been printing for a while. I started off just with kind of, the basic, just a screen and a squeegee. So just two things. This is all I needed. You could do a lot with just the screen and just squeegee. As I went on, like I really loved the process. So I figured to start doing research and to see like what's the next step for me as someone who's like passionate about this. So I looked up on Instagram, screen printing companies around Milwaukee, and luckily someone that I met decided to take me in and mentor me. His name is Dominic. So I would catch the bus after school, would like have a bunch of garments with me, and then go to the studio. I would help him just kind of like, maintain the studio, like clean up and stuff like that. And then in return, he would let me print my own garments. So really just kind of learned a lot from him. And then like later on, the studio that he was on ended up getting bought out and they turned it into apartments. So he offered to sell his printer for me, which it's over there up front. So I bought it, was in my parents' basement for a while. And then just kind of like start dabbling more and more into it. Yeah, but that's kind of essentially like where the story started. It's scary. It's scary to just like start your own thing and pursue it and try to make a living out of it. So until like the pandemic, that's when I was kind of forced to take the jump, and I locked myself in the studio for like, you know, a week or two and just was printing a lot, documented the process, like shared it on Instagram, TikTok. And then I started to realize like a lot of like positive response. And at the time that kind of like reminded me like, oh, if you put a lot of energy into an idea, you could eventually like make it work and make a living out of it. So from there, it just kind of like went on like full time and haven't stopped since. When I first started printing, you know, the butterfly, I was like, I saw these butterflies flying outside, and I was like, oh, that would be a cool imagery to screen print. So I went home that day, made the screen, printed them on some white pair of denim that I had thrifted, and then posted it on social media, you know, just talking about like, oh, if you have an idea, you should just pursue it and don't wait, you know. One of the first meanings, you know, it's just the transformation phases, which is kind of like a universal like meaning that everybody kind of could relate to. Transforming into all these different stages. Butterfly is also like a symbol for like a lot of like immigrants. Butterflies migrate. So that was another like unique symbolism that ties to my story, you know, coming here as an immigrant. Butterfly being a symbol of that was just another great way. And then I kept looking a little bit deeper. I found this quote online that was like, butterfly can't see their wings, so they can't see how truly beautiful they are, but everybody else can. And that was something that was really resonated with me, because for the longest time, I never really saw myself as being talented or anything like that. Shirt's cured. Yeah, it's just really nice. Some of like my design influence come from like a lot of like the high school, you know, just uniform, and I think that's something. That's the goal for like the brand, is to create something that's a uniform for people who kind of share the same values and ideas. One of the biggest thing like early on in Milwaukee, I try to make sure like whoever wore Unfinished Legacy kind of shared the same values. And so like when you ran into somebody else who wore Unfinished Legacy, you could like have that conversation. There's already that like initial like, oh, that person knows Unfinished Legacy and he's wearing it, so he must share the same values, so I could easily just have a conversation with him. So. Woo.
It's not the same.
So before we moved to LA, I came here for a week, just looking at, you know, production facilities and whatnot, and I realized that LA is the place to be. So went back and told everyone like, hey, we're moving to LA. Our lease was like 2 months before it was done. So then we all just like had to kind of, I guess, follow the idea of coming out here, and ended up locking a space. And then we rented one of the biggest U-Haul. I think it was like a 26 foot, is it 26? Yeah, like really massive. We fit everything. Everything from our studio was in there. And then I ended up driving my car separately. It was a 3-day road trip, so we took every night to just kind of crash in the motels and rest up. I visited LA for a week, and I met with you guys. My first meeting was with BELLA+CANVAS team at one of my favorite now like restaurants, Zinc, in the Art District. By the time I get ready to like place the order, it starts to like sell out. So I'm always like on the site just making sure like, oh, there's like inventory. So I could order in advance and then just...
If you want to, just a you don't have those problems,
Yeah.
not a problem. So those are the ones with all four sides, and these are the ones with only the front.
Okay. When we started conversation around collaborating with BELLA+CANVAS, I remember that one thing that really kind of came to mind right away about BELLA+CANVAS blanks is the colors. There's a wide range of colors, and to me, like one of my earliest memories is just the earth tone colors. So when it came to like design and thinking of like colorways and stuff like that, I of course wanted to incorporate, the butterfly, which is one of the iconography that we carry with our brand. So I wanted that to be present, but then also along that, I wanted to have like just really nice, beautiful tonal colors for the graphic, and it ended up working out perfectly. Also kind of reminds me of Milwaukee too. Like Milwaukee, we're known for like the cream, so the colors are very closely to a reminder of home, and also just like for the collaboration, just worked out perfectly. With our brand, the butterfly is one of the more prominent imagery that's carried out through most of our graphics. Thinking about collaboration, I wanted to bring like our world onto like the BELLA+CANVAS world. So it's still giving our audience a chance to grab something that they're familiar with, but in a new garment. And I know most of our friends and family too, like they do enjoy things that are like much softer. We have branched out a few times, like doing more heavier weight garments, but I think this is another chance to like reintroduce something with our imagery, but softer. What you guys are doing is incredible. Having sustainability in the forefront and being eco-friendly, those are like ethos that I try to also like implement in my business. I'm just seeing like right now, this is like where we're at, but like 10 years from now, like what is Unfinished Legacy doing to help impact the planet? Biggest thing that I'd communicate to anyone starting a streetwear brand or just starting anything is just really having the passion for it. I try to live my life with passion forward, beyond just doing things for monetary reasons or status reason, whatever that might be. I think I want to be an example of like pursuing your passion and being able to like impact the world for the better with your passions. Don't be afraid to get uncomfortable. I think for me, being uncomfortable a lot of time is where you find growth. I value growth a lot. If you want to do anything big in this world, you have to grow. You have to constantly like learn. And again, don't be afraid to reach out to people who are doing things beyond you, because you can learn a lot from them. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. This is kind of just a day in the life of Unfinished Legacy. Now I just got to go back to the studio and print some shirts. Jonathan, guess what happened?
Oh, you stepped on Dude?
Yeah.